Very good evening now, students, to all of you. So, students, I've uploaded the file, the PDF file of this question and answer. As I told you, students, this would be one of the most important particular lecture as far as the composition scheme is concerned. We have understood the entire concept in the conceptual class. Now, in this session, students, we would be doing that question and answer particular on the composition scheme. One of the most likely question as far as your November 24 examinations are concerned. In fact, for every attempt, this is one of the most important. And these kind of questions that is being set by the ICI, whether it is in the study material which I have considered, whether it is the RTP MTP which I also have considered, these are the classic question and answer, students, which you are going to find it. And that is the reason why, students, these question and answer needs to be done thoroughly without fail, but with a particular format. So therefore we will look into those particular things, students. Now I hope that all the audio and video is fine, students. If that is the case, we can then begin with this one. And those students, again, I'm repeating, this is an English practice batch, which we are doing it, the free practice batch. Hindi is done in the morning at 7:30 a.m. And those who want to join this free practice batch, the numbers are given in the description. The first number is my number. You can just WhatsApp me and I'll put you in the Telegram channel, in the Telegram group, where the link and the PDF notes you can find. Perfect, students. Let's begin with it. Before, students, I begin with this one, students, because the concept which is going to be introduced, every one of you are generally aware of the concept, but again I'll revise with you that one of the most important chart that we have discussed just before the example, students, the one of the most important chart, students, that we have discussed. Just very quickly I'll recall that particular things with all of you, and then we will be straight away looking into the question. This note which I have made you write in the concept class, the note which I have made you write, which was about the turnover and the eligibility, in that, if it is an aggregate turnover, students, if it is aggregate turnover, whether it is a previous financial year and if it is a current financial year, then as per explanation 1, it includes what, students? The turnover from the 1st of April to that registration period. And we have consistently have concluded, students, we have consistently concluded that interest element will be excluded in this case. Interest element would be excluded in this case. Interest from what? Interest from the service. Which service? Service by way of extending deposit loans and advances, insofar as the consideration is represented by interest or discount, that interest would be excluded. Now this is excluded from everything. From what it is excluded, friends? From the concept of aggregate turnover, from the concept of turnover in the state. Now why this turnover in the state is required? Because you know that this turnover in the state in the current financial year is required for the purpose of computing the composition tax. When you have to compute the composition tax, then the rate has to be applied on what value? The rate has to be applied on what value? Please don't use the word aggregate turnover. For that, the term that you will use in your answer would be turnover in the state or the union territory. Turnover in the state or the union territory, students. Yes, Tulsi, Aishwarya, Jyoti, perfect. Isn't it? That is what we will be using that term when we have to calculate a tax liability in the current year. Marginal services allowed in scheme 1 for the 3 category of service, for the three category of supply: manufacturer, restaurant, and the third one is a trader. So marginal services is being allowed, and therefore the marginal service primarily, again, for marginal service also 10% is the upper limit. 10% of what? 10% of what, friends? Turnover in the state or union territory. Turnover in the state or union territory. Now again, students, that turnover in the state or union territory will exclude what? The interest element. Everywhere interest is always excluded. That is point number 1. Now one last point, students, which I have discussed with all of you, I just want to recall with all of you in this case. When you have to calculate the GST liability under the composition scheme, when you all have to calculate the GST liability, students, under the composition scheme, in this case, the rate would be applied on the turnover of the state. The turnover of the state. For scheme 1, which has got 3 categories. First one is the manufacturer. The turnover, students, of the state will include both the taxable as well as the exempt turnover. The turnover of the state will include both the taxable as well as the exempt turnover. Now tell me, in the exempt turnover, will you include the interest? When you calculate the GST liability, when you have to calculate the GST liability in that particular context, the turnover of the state, will you include in that exempt supply? Although exempt supply is included in the turnover of the state, but which exempt supply is not to be considered in the turnover of the state? The interest part. Which exempt supply will not be considered in the turnover of the state? That interest part. So please be careful in that exempt supply which we are talking about it over here, which has to be considered, and on that 1% would be applied, but that exempt supply will exclude the interest element. Is that clear to all of you? Same is also the case with the restaurant service. 5% of the turnover of the state. Turnover of the state will include both taxable as well as exempt supply. But exempt supply, the turnover of the state in the nature of exempt supply, that will not take into account that service which is by way of providing loans, deposit and advance, insofar as the consideration is represented by interest or discount. Is that point clear to all of you? So here also, in that exempt supply, although it is a turnover of the state, but in that exempt supply, that interest part would be excluded. Perfect. What about the third category in scheme number 1? The third category in scheme number 1, there you take 1% of the turnover of the state, and in this turnover of the state, students, it is only the taxable supply that will be considered. So all the exempt supply, students, will be out from the race. Not only that interest, but everything would be out, because we take 1% of only the taxable supply. Is that point clear to all of you, students? Every one of you? See how the things will change. It was so good to understand this conceptually in the last lecture. But now when we have to work out the solution, so much minor things has to be considered. Although we may know it, but how to write it, it becomes a big challenge. I'm telling you, students, and you yourself will appreciate by the end of the class, that writing is altogether a different ball game, and this is what ultimately your performance is measured in the examination, as to what you write, irrespective of what you know. That exactly is the game of your CA final examination. To become a chartered accountant, you have to cross this hurdle. Hurdle of what? What you know needs to be translated properly in your answer sheet. Schedule number 2, the rate is 6% of the turnover of the state. Now in that turnover of the state will have both taxable as well as the exempt supply. Now in scheme number 2, marginal service is not allowed. Now in that exempt supply, tell me one thing, will you consider in that exempt supply, students, will you consider in the turnover of the state, which includes exempt supply, will you consider an interest? Answer is no. Everywhere in the turnover of the state, if there is an exempt supply to be considered, then that exempt supply will not include that interest part. Is that point clear to all of you? Everyone? So if you all are clear with this one, students, we now look into the practical and see how it goes. So the PDF file is already being shared, students, with all of you in your Telegram channel, in that group, in the respective topic folder. You will find this PDF where? In the topic folder. So every topic, there is a separate folder. In that topic folder, the PDF has been shared. Perfect. Now going with this one, students, in this context, before I go with this one, students, did you realize that the composition scheme is not available if there are some conditions. One of the conditions is that you should not be doing the supply of the notified goods. You should not be doing the supply of the notified goods. Every one of you are aware of it, isn't it? One of the condition is you should not be doing the supply of the notified goods. Now, many students say, sir, what is the notified goods? So unfortunately, you will always have to read this notified goods. I may be assuming that many of you already have remembered it, but still keep revising. Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated waters, bricks. All these are bricks, blocks. which is used for hitting the person, and tiles. So bricks, blocks, and tiles to hit the person. So therefore, in this particular context, ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated water, bricks, blocks, and tiles. So these are the items if you supply in the current financial year. See, last financial year you may have been doing it. Doesn't matter. But as far as the composition scheme is concerned, you will always have to see whether you are supplying these notified goods in the current financial year. And if you do, then immediately, first of all, you will not be eligible for the scheme. And supposingly you are not doing initially in the current previous year, in the current financial year, you are not doing it initially. But somewhere in between, you started doing this. So the moment you start doing this in the current financial year, you are out from the scheme. That time itself, you are out, thrown out from the scheme. And I have already told you this particular part. If that is the case, students, then let's begin now with the question and answer. All set, students? All of you? Avi? MCQ students, I'll do it towards the end. MCQs are simple. Let's come to the practical question on the composition scheme first. So students, herein, in this regard, the composition scheme. First question, students. Question number 3. All of you will take question number 3, students, first. The first question would be question number 3, students. See how the things has to be go. Let's have a look at how to write the answer. The ultimate thing is that every one of you immediately will say yes or no. But then to write it, see the reason which IC has given in their module, in their suggested answer. And just think over it whether you will be in a position to write these things or not. And even though your final answer is right, out of 4 marks, you'll get 2. You yourself will come to know now. Mr. Rajbir, a registered person at Delhi, is in the business. Business of what? Is in the business of selling goods relating to interior decoration under the firm's name, Mrs. Rajbir and Sons. He has opted for composition scheme for the financial year 21-22. Okay, so that is, you will come to know this is the last year. His turnover in the current financial year is rupees 80 lakhs. It is expected to achieve rupees 130 lakhs in the financial year, the next financial year. How much he is expecting his turnover to be? 130 lakhs. Discuss whether Mrs. Rajbi and Son can still enjoy the benefit of composition scheme in financial year 22-23. Please understand the wordings that they have used. So beautifully they are using the wording. Can still enjoy the benefit. Do you know what is the implication of this word? Still enjoy. There are 2 ways of putting the question. Be careful. 2 ways of putting the question. One way would be discuss whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son is eligible for the composition scheme for financial year 22-23. Mark my words, huh? See the question. Mark my words. Discuss whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son Mrs. Rajbir and Son is eligible for composition scheme for financial year 22-23. That is question number 1. And second is discuss whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can still enjoy the benefit of composition scheme in financial year 22-23. What was the first question? Discuss whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son is can Mrs. Rajbir and Son is eligible for composition scheme for financial year 22-23. That is question number 1. And what is question number 2? Discuss whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can still enjoy the benefit of composition scheme in financial year 22-23. Do you know the difference now, students, of these 2 questions? if you have to discuss whether Rajbir and Son can enjoy, whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can enjoy the composition benefit for financial year 22-23, then that is a different way of putting the answer. If they say that whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can still enjoy the benefit, what does it imply? Can still enjoy the benefit means what? It means that you are supposed to talk in the sense that if he has opted for the composition scheme, then during the financial year 22-23, that is the current financial year, whether he can still enjoy the benefit. So the emphasis would be on the current year aggregate turnover. How much is the current year aggregate turnover? So first, in this case, the current year aggregate turnover, if it is up to 150 lakhs, if it is not cross 150 lakhs, then he can still enjoy the benefit of the compositions. This is what the answer is. Did you realize that? And I'm telling you why I'm emphasizing more on this one, because when you read the solution, you don't pick up these finer words. When you read the solution, I'll tell you what you will read. Start reading the solution, you'll come to know. Okay, you read it in a very general way. Okay, 10-1, 10-2, this is the condition, and accordingly he is eligible, and in the current year also, that is what it is. You will miss out what exactly they have asked. So, whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can enjoy the benefit of composition scheme for financial year 22-23 is one type of question. Whether Mrs. Rajbir and Son can still enjoy the benefit of composition scheme in financial year 22-23, it's a different type of question. And still would mean that he has already opted now in the current year. And now he wants to know in the current year that can he still enjoy the benefit in the current year? So you just need to check in the current financial year how much he has reached to his aggregate turnover. And if he has already reached to the extent of 150 lakhs, then answer is no, you cannot now enjoy the benefit. But if you have not yet crossed 150 lakhs, then yes, you can still enjoy the benefit of what? The composition. These are the ways in which the questions are being drafted, students. In the CA final, you have to pick up these words. That exactly is the game. Now there is a part 2 of the question which I will discuss it a bit later. Now in this question, students, nowhere they are asking the computation of composition tax liability. This type of question is nowhere asking you the composition tax liability. This would be coming in the another questions which we will see later on. But this is only about the conditions part itself. Now how do you write, students? You will have to prepare a statement. I'm pretty sure that you will fail to write this kind of an answer in the theory format, in the paragraph format. You will not be in a position to write it, accept it. The better way, students, I'm now taking you through is make the statement, make the paragraph. It becomes your life easier and the examiner's life easier to know that you people have really understood everything and all the provisions is put forth in a clear terms. How do you present this answer, students? Again, I'm repeating, there are two types of question now. Question number 1 is primarily only talking about that eligibility level, and the second level of question would be when they are also asking you the tax liability. So students, over here in this context, first what you will do, you will make a statement. Here the statement would go like this, students, in this context. So here is a question of Mr. Rajbir and Son. Now, is he a registered person already, students? He's a registered person. Put across what is his business, students. Very important to know what is his business. His business in this case, is he a manufacturer or is he a service provider? No, he's selling the goods. So he's a trader. Selling the goods. So in that case, he's a trader. Do you know, like the way we used to make the computation of total income question? Mr. A, resident and audit resident, previous year this, assessment year that. That is how I want you to formatize this composition scheme solution. It will just take one particular level of practice. One, right now with me in the class. Second, some question I will give you for homework, wherein you will make the format the way I'm taking you through right now. So those 2-3 questions which I'm giving you as a homework, those you will formatize in the way you are going to learn it now with me. And once the format is ready, you are all on your own now. Then no looking back. You know what exactly to write in the examination, and your answer will stand out across the country, not only in your center, not only in your city, but across the country. I'm talking about it. Is that point clear to all of you students? So therefore, the preparation is for getting the best of the solution across the country. So Rajbir and Son, registered person, businesses of selling of the goods. Now here students, we should all target immediately where is his eligibility lies. Tell me where is his eligibility? Like R and OR you write in the total income computation. Here where is the eligibility? 10(2)(a) or 10(1), 10(2)? Obviously 10(1) and 10(2). 10(1) and 10(2) of the CGST Act. 10(1) and 10(2) of the CGST Act. That is where his eligibility lies. That exactly is the game. Now, once this is the point, students, once you have made the statement, then don't use the scale in your examination. Directly, you will make the 3 columns. And what are the 3 columns, students? The first 2 columns would be less. What would be the less width? The first 3 columns, the first 2 columns that you will prepare would be having less width, eligibility. Second one is the conditions. And the third one would require a larger width, which is remark. This remark would be the provision and the explanation. But 50% of the provision you will write earlier so that your life become easier in the remark column. If you have to write entire provision at one go, this is where you will falter big time. You don't know how to write this provision at one go. And hence this approach. Now eligibility students, first eligibility students, as you know, in this particular context. This is linked to, I already taught you in the last class students. Linked to what? Linked to the previous financial year. Previous financial year. And you will write like this previous financial year, and please make this as PFY. Because in the remark column, I don't have to keep on repeating previous financial year, previous financial year, previous financial year. So you will first write previous financial year and in the bracket PFY. Please define what is the previous financial year in this question, 21-22. That is also you have to define when you write the format. That is what you also have to define when you write the format. Now, in the conditions part, students, the condition that you know, how much is that in this case? Aggregate turnover. In the last financial year, how much it should be? Up to what? Up to rupees 150 lakhs. Up to rupees 150 lakhs, students. In this case, now this is for in the bracket you'll write for the trader. Please see, these are the important things that you have to keep on repeating it. For the trader of goods, this is what it is, no? And already you have told this is under the scheme. Which scheme, students? 10(1) and 10(2) of the CGST Act. So now you are reproducing the limit below. You are reproducing the limit below, students. Aggregate turnover up to rupees 150 lakhs for trader of the goods. Now what you have to write in the remark? In this case, just the actual facts. What you have to write in the remark is only the actual facts. And what is that actual fact, students? The aggregate turnover of the PFY. PFY, that is, which is the PFY? 21-22 is rupees 80 lakhs. Is rupees 80 lakhs and hence does not exceed. And hence does not exceed rupees 150 lakhs. Full stop. Hence, Mr. Rajbir and Son is eligible for composition scheme CS, in the bracket CS, for financial year 22-23. That is it. I am not enlarging this part of the question. Why I don't have to enlarge this part of the question? Because the question mainly is on the next part, the current financial year. So just talk about the turnover is this much in the PFI, previous financial year, and therefore, because of that reason, he is eligible for the composition scheme for the next financial year 22-23. Did you all got this one, students? And I'm telling you, students, it's not that this Rajbir and Son question you people have not done it. You people may have done it, but now you are thinking this question from altogether new perspective. A new perspective has been developed so far as the way the question needs to be thought upon. Coming to the second particular part, students. This is where the game is. Now this would be for link to what? Link to the current financial year. Current financial year. And please make the abbreviation clear here itself. So again, I don't have to keep on repeating. You don't have to keep on writing again and again. But at least once you need to write full and then make a abbreviation. 22-23 is the year. Now, eligibility condition. So this is also the eligibility condition, students. For there are two eligibility. I told you in the concept class that there are two eligibility condition. One is for the PFI and another is for the current financial year. And therefore, in the current financial year, the aggregate turnover, students, should be up to rupees. Up to rupees what? Up to rupees 150 lakhs. Up to rupees 150 lakhs, students. Fine, students. Now, when the question is targeting, students, be careful. When the question is targeting about the aggregate turnover, students, when the question is targeting about the aggregate turnover. So, in this particular context, we have to explain, be careful, students, we have to explain that the aggregate turnover is within the limit in this context. So, what you have to write now in the remark side? Now, the emphasis on the solution. Now the emphasis on the solution. Now you don't write here students again and again for trader of the goods. Don't keep doing it. Only for the PFI, connect with this trader of the goods. That is it. You don't keep on writing trader of the good, trader of the goods. Okay. Have something new everywhere. So trader of the goods or manufacturer of the goods or restaurant service or supplier of service, as the case may be, would be written only in that first eligibility part. That is for PFI. Tell what exactly that person is. There itself. Then again, don't repeat this again thing. Trader of the good below. Okay. Now, in this case, no. Tulsi is saying that, sir, only taxable service, taxable supply is going to be considered. Now, am I going to write anything about taxable supply over here? Please tell me. Based on the question that you people have read, now we know it's a question of the trader. Am I going to write anything about the taxable supply over here? That is my question to all of you. Am I going to write anything about the taxable supply over here? Tell me, all of you. Does my remark warrants reference of taxable supply for trader in my explanation? Am I going to write anything about taxable supply? Answer is no. What they are asking the question, they are not talking about calculated tax liability. If they would have told you to calculate tax liability, then the composition rate would be applied on the turnover of the state or the union territory. Turnover of the state or the union territory, and the turnover of the state or the union territory, so far as trader is concerned, will only include the taxable supply. That is it. But that is only when the question asks you compute the tax liability. But this question is not about tax liability. This is only about the eligibility. Can he still enjoy the composition scheme? And therefore, for that, we have to only check what? Whether the aggregate turnover of 150 lakhs in the current financial year is that breached or not? Or is it likely to be breached or not? And the fact that it is not breached or it is not likely to be breached, yes, he can still enjoy the benefit of composition scheme. And that exactly is the point. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. So minute things are there. You just write one sentence, slip off the sentence, gone. Since the aggregate turnover in the current financial year is likely to be rupees 130 lakhs, rupees 130 lakhs, Therefore, he can still enjoy, to pay the tax, to pay the tax as per the composition scheme. He can still enjoy to pay the tax as per composition scheme in the CFI in respect of the expected turnover of the current year. At, if you want to write the rate, 1% of the, if you want to write at 1% of the taxable supply. If you want to write this is not required. I'm just putting one thing further. If you don't want to write this, you can ignore it. At 1% of taxable supply of the state or the UT. Taxable supply turnover of the state, taxable supply turnover of the state or the UT. If you don't want to write this, it's so perfectly fine. I'm just stretching one step further to highlight that look, for the trader, it is taxable supply, I do know. Without stretching my answer, if I can do it, nothing like that. I'm telling you, students, as I told you, this kind of an answer, not in your center, not in your center city, across the India, these kind of answers won't be there. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Now, if he still wants to enjoy, however, now comes the real game, students. Be careful. All of you would have agreed, students. Every one of you who are right now there, you would have agreed that this kind of answer you have not written at all earlier, whenever you are writing anything for composition scheme. Therefore, for the very first time, you are entering into this era of sublime answering as far as the IDT is concerned. Earlier, you yourself would have been feeling the difference. You people would have read it earlier. So what you have done it and what you are doing it now in this context. Now, students, I'm telling you a trick over here. See how to read the question. Can you still enjoy? Be careful. Can you still enjoy? Yes, I can still enjoy, provided what, students? Provided I don't enter into the negative zone. And what are the negative zone? That is to say, I can still enjoy in that 130 lakhs. Yes, the answer is very clear. 130 lakhs, game is over. But be careful. If in that 130 lakhs, you make a mischief. You make a mischief. Mischief of what? Mischief of interstate supply. You make a mischief of non-taxable supply. You make a mischief of supply through ECO. You make a mischief of the manufacture of a notified goods. You make a mischief of being a casual taxable person or the NRTP. Then in that case, immediately you will be thrown out from the composition scheme, even though your aggregate turnover is 130 lakhs. Even though your aggregate turnover is 130 lakhs. Is that point clear to all of you? So you have to write this particular statement. What is that? However, Mr. Rajbir and sir, comma, in order to continue to enjoy the composition scheme, comma, he shall ensure the following. He shall ensure the following. Now, friends, can you write all that thing? No interstate supply. These are all. He shall ensure following in the CFI. When he should ensure? Is it for the PFI or CFI? This assurance that we have to give, is it for PFI or is it for CFI? Is it for PFI or for CFI? All these assurance that you were talking about it. BFR, CFI, all these are of CFI. No interstate supply. Now, even though students it becomes repetition, so be that. Don't care. You will have to keep writing it, students, because these things to come to natural to you, you have to keep writing, students. I'm so happy, students, about these. Some of the all the students, almost all the students have cleared. And I was in the last year Hyderabad branch, and I did this fast track course there. In fact, almost all the students have qualified that point. Or just in the last attempt itself, also some students have seen through. That is what it is. I want that now. All the only criteria students of these students was that they just were sincere, and whatever I was telling to them, they were just implementing that. That is what it is. One girl student, she traveled from Mumbai and she came down to Hyderabad. I could find that some students from Sri Salem, some of them from Tamil Nadu, some students, all these students from across family, the location they all came. And because they came from everywhere, they don't have the chance, in fact, to bunk the lecture. So they were only one thing which what they just did was that they just were sincere with the lecture. And whatever was being told to them, they just revised. And they just went to the examination, gave, qualified, and they are through now. Some of the students are through with second group. Some of the students have already have qualified their chartered account. Online, there is one danger. And what is the danger? You may or you may not. Today you may, tomorrow you may not. So therefore, students, only one thing that is required at your end is just ensure that students you are there throughout in this journey. And once you are there, I'm assuring you, you will see through this with a very good marks. I'm not telling you you will pass with very, very good marks, students. I'm telling you my student have scored 94 in IDT and all. This is where the scoring Mohit Bhandari is in Singapore right now. 2011 batch student, 2011 or 2012. All India 13th rank. 94 in IDT. These are some of the students. There were some other students also. Obviously, our scorings are irrelevant. Depends upon attempt to attempt. Somebody may have even scored 95, 96. That is the case. But the point is that this is what it is. The hallmark is that shouldn't just do whatever has been told to you. Just practice this couple of homeworks. That is it. I'll cover up those things. Whatever I tell you that these are things to be done at your end. I already told you students, customs and FTP, please do it in advance. Because I want to ensure that it's 80 mark of GST. I want to do it very thoroughly with you. By end of September, you'll be through with your GST with practice. With the way I'm doing with all of you. This 1.5 hour session that we are spending together in this context. So just deal with it, and I'm telling you, you will see through it beautifully well. DT already, friends, I've done it in the last batch, so I cannot do it live. Recorded lectures are there for DT. You will have to see those recorded lectures. Family live only IDT. I'm doing it right now because IDT there is no backup lectures. So this is what we are creating the backup right now. So other conditions, friends, which are being there: no supply through ECO. Who is liable? Who is liable for? TCS under section 52. Not a manufacturer. Not a manufacturer of. Not a manufacturer of notified goods. Last one, friends, is not a casual TP or non-resident taxable person. In any case, this is not required, but still I'm giving you an additional point so that this is completely there in your mind. You never get lost in the process. So if you have to continue to enjoy, please do ensure to write this. This is what you have to write, because even though it's 130 lakhs, you know it could be breach. Any one condition, you may breach it, you are out from the game. Out from the game, students. Now, can I go to the part 2 of the question? Can I go to the part 2 of the question if you have already copied this? There is another part of the question also. Another part. Just quickly tell me. Aishwarya, Tulsi. Perfect. Now let me in fact put across to what the second part of the question is. This is the second part of the question. His son Karan wants to start business of provide. So that was one part, and now we come to second part. So we have discussed, yes, and now we come to the second part. His son Karan wants to start business of providing services relating to interior decorations after completing post graduation course in interior decoration under same firm name Mrs. Rajbir and Sons with effect from 1st April of financial year 22-23 and wants to enjoy the benefit of composition scheme under GS. Advise Mr. Rajbir and his son Karan. So first was about that. Can he still continue? We have seen. Yes, he can still continue. Now we come to this. Here is a dilemma now. His son want to start a service, interior decoration service. But the point is this, students, in this context. The point is it under the same firm name, Mr. Rajbir and Son. Can you see this one, students? Under the same firm name, Mrs. Rajbir and Son. This is a problem. If his son wanted to start independently, most welcome. You, Mr. Son, you would have been allowed to take the composition scheme under 10-2A. And you, because your last year turnover is not exceeding 50 lakhs because this is your first year. So you could have done that. But he wants to do it in the same form. That's the problem. And please understand, Rajbir was what, students? Mr. Rajbir, students, is a proprietary concern. Is a proprietary concern. Now, if his son comes, students, in this context, what happens now? Suddenly from proprietorship, it will become a partnership. Suddenly from a proprietorship, students, it will become a partnership. So they will have to register the firm as a partnership firm now in this situation. And if they have to register the firm as per the partnership firm, they will have to take a new PAN. And in that new PAN, primarily they will register as what? As a supplier of the goods, trading plus service. Now a trader, can he do a service also, students? A trader, can he do a service also? A trader, can he do a service also? Yes. In scheme number 1, which has got 3 categories: manufacturer, restaurant service, and the trader. For scheme 1, we have got marginal service available for scheme 1. And therefore, this marginal service which is available for scheme 1 is how much? 10% of the turnover of the state or union territory of the preceding financial year. How much is the turnover of the state or the union territory of the preceding financial year? You have to see the 10% of that. So how much, students, in this case, is the turnover of the state in the preceding financial year in this context? Turnover of the state, students, in the preceding financial year in this context? 80 lakhs or 130 lakhs? Kavita, Aishwarya, Tulsi. And in this case, the answer is 0. That is a game, because this turnover you're talking about of the individual. Whereas now with Karan, who is going to do service, Karan the son who want to do a service, this firm will become a partnership firm in the current year as per this new arrangement. And if it is a new firm, new PAN number, please understand, composition scheme is all about the PAN. And therefore, the last year firm was with a different PAN. And this firm with Karan included, it would be having a separate PAN. So if it is a separate PAN, now can you take the turnover of the previous PAN, last PAN, a different PAN, and take 10% of that? Can you take 10% of a separate PAN? Answer is no in this context. and therefore 10% of the turnover of the preceding financial year is 0. And that will be compared with rupees 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. So how much is the marginal service which is allowed in this case? 5 lakhs is the marginal service which will be allowed in this case. Did you realize this particular part, friends, in this context? This is a beautiful particular part of the question. Beautiful part. And the best part, students, is that you people have read this question earlier, but you have not picked up this particular thing in this context. Here in this particular regard. And over here, why is it so, students, in this context? See the explanation. See the explanation. Why is it that has happened? This paragraph you would have done it very casually. This paragraph you would have read it very casually, and this is primarily the problem, that why we could not have answered it. So now, students, continue with the presentation. Continue with the presentation. This is the main answer we are writing. Point number 3, students. Point number 3. So what is point number 3, students? In the eligibility column only you are going to write. The column for eligibility that you have prepared, only in that you have to write. Karan wish to start. Start what? Start business of providing services. Underline the word services. Relating to what? Interior decoration. Now this is very important. And in the eligibility, under what? Under same form. Under same form in financial year. Which financial year you want to do that? 22-23. Now the condition that I'm going to put up, students, would be of what? The condition that I'm going to put up now would be of the marginal service, because now your in this case condition would be of what? Marginal service, students. This would be a case of marginal service. In this case, herein, in this regard. Now just hold on, students. Herein you will write in this particular context. Marginal services can be provided under composition scheme of section 10(1) and 10(2) up to value of what, students? Up to higher of the following. You can just write like this. Up to higher of the following. Higher of the following. So this is the composition scheme of 10(1) and 10(2). Can you provide marginal service? Yes. Up to higher of the following. What is that, friends? 10% of the turnover of the state for PFI or rupees 5 or rupees 5. This, if you have to write, students, in this context, this would be as per, students, you can write second proviso to section 10. If you can write, you can write. Otherwise, you can skip this part. Not an issue. This part. This provision of marginal service available in 10(1) and 10(2) is given to you. This particular part, that marginal service you are allowed under 10(1) and 10(2) up to this much of the value. This is given to you in the second proviso to section 10. So I'm just giving you the citation where this law is of the marginal service. Okay, where this law is of the marginal service, I've given you that particular point. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Now the remark part. Now what are the remark, friends, in the remark part? So conditions you have given it. Yes, it is allowed, but this is the limit. In the condition, I'm using the limit, students. In that condition part, friends, I'm using the condition for putting up the limit. This is how I'm doing the presentation. So whenever you have to write anything about the marginal service, so in that marginal service, students, in the condition part, please put up the limit. So this is what you will write for the marginal service in the second column. In the second column. Whenever you have to write anything about the marginal service, this is what you're going to write in the second column. What is the second column? Conditions. So this is what you're going to write. Now, please put a pause here. The sole proprietorship needs to be first converted into partnership form. Full stop. This Kavita I'm talking about it. This is how you're going to present in your examination. There are 3 points. In the statement form, you're going to present. This is your examination presentation part. Don't write in the paragraph form. You will not be in a position to do justice at all. Now, everything will get standardized. Like every one of you are row 1 and 2. Every one of you knowing that this gets standardized 1 and 2 in this context. Herein, the third part, students, also. This third point is whenever you have to write the marginal service. So, in this question, Karan story was given, so I have to write something about his story, about the eligibility. So I have to write the story. Otherwise, in other questions, you will find we will do it. It's not only one question I'm going to give you format. So that you know that, okay, sir, now everything has become standardized. So today's class and one more lecture, you will know, sir, now everything has become standardized. Now we know how to do it. Don't worry. We are in a position to deal everything on our own. So you will know that everything becomes standardized. So here I have to write something about Karan's story, na? In that eligibility part, because there is some story for Karan. Otherwise, what they could have done, simply they could have said, Mr. Rajbir, many questions, other questions is telling you, Mr. Rajbir, the other question, just immediately next question I'll take you. And there you will find that same person wants to start a service in the next financial year. I'll do the next question, the same thing. So what I'm going to write? Simply I'm going to write here in eligibility, marginal service. But in my condition part, I'm using the condition part to put up the limits, the thresholds. That is what I'm using in the condition part. So what is the threshold or the limit of the marginal service? This is what it is. And then if you want to write, please write this proviso also. Second proviso to section 10. Even this is becoming standardized. No? If you know that, okay, for marginal service, this is only you have to return. Your job is done. Your job is done, students. So the sole proprietorship needs to be first converted into partnership form. Full stop. Next line. Further, new GST registration under new PAN. This is very important, students. New GST registration under new PAN is required to be obtained. Hence, the form will be considered. Can we write the answer horizontally in the exam? No. In the exam, you write this. See, in the examination, you have to write vertically only. Don't write horizontally. This is only for your notebook right now. In the exam, please don't put this thing. Otherwise, you will have to also give IODX to the examiner. So then you have to read the answer like this. So don't do that. Vertically. You will say, but sir, we will not find any space. The space you don't require. I am writing because I can write. In the examination, I told you that first two has got less width. Remark has got the maximum width. Make it. And even though it gets spilled over to the next page, why you have to worry? It doesn't cost you anything for it. Isn't it? Yeah, 2 sheets. In any case, would be there. So hence the form will be considered as a new form, students, in the financial year. This is what is missing, students, in your ICI solution. Because they have not explained this well, therefore you have not registered in this Rajbir question this part. Would be considered as new form in the financial year 2023. Therefore, the limit of marginal service for financial year for financial year 22-23 will be. Now many of you will say, sir, but how can we complete this thing in time? Don't worry. I'm telling you now, after two questions it becomes so standardized, it becomes mechanical. That at night also you have to write, in sleep also you'll start writing it very fast. So just because this is the first time you are doing like this, just allow 2-3 questions to go by, it becomes so mechanical after some time that in that case you can start writing in the sleep also, this format. So I'm formatizing your answer. The limit of marginal service for the financial year 22-23 will be, what is the limit, students? 10% of zero turnover of 21-22 or rupees 5 lakhs will be higher off. Students, write like this, will be higher off. Therefore equal to rupees 5. Because I have to explain you everything, therefore it is taking time. And please don't use a scale and all. I'm telling you, friends, you're not supposed to use the scales and all. Straight away start writing it, and you know the width and all, everything is known to you. Is that point clear to all of you? Everyone? Quickly. Tulsi, Kavita. There will be 2 homework today, students, after today's session. Noted? Now, students, directly come to skip question number 4, because in question number 4, this is about a tax liability. That I'll do it tomorrow. Here in question number 4, will require you to calculate tax liability, which will require 2 statements then. It will require 2 statements. Statement number 1 is the same that we did it right now. And statement number 2 will be the actual calculation of tax liability. That is statement number 2. So I'm not using this question number 4. So therefore I would be introducing, let us first settle down with this formatting of the statement number 1. Now directly, students, come to question number 5. Now question number 5 has got 4 questions. Question number 5 has got 4 questions. See over here. Question number 5. Examine whether the suppliers are eligible for composition levy under section 10 in the following independent cases in the beginning of the financial year 22-23. In the beginning of the financial year 22-23. And what is that? Point number A. Technology enterprise registered in Jalandhar, Punjab, is engaged in manufacturing and supplying computer system to manufacturer. Scheme 1. Its aggregate turnover in the financial year 21-22 is rupees 125 lakhs. So that is the previous financial year. Technology enterprise supplies the computer system manufactured by it within the state of Punjab only. Intrastate supply. Means therefore eligibility, they are talking about it. With a view to expand its business operation, it also starts providing repairing service of computer system in the Punjab in the financial year 22-23, in the current financial year. It wants to start with the service. So he only wants to do it, or his son wants to do it in the same firm. He only wants to do it, or his son wants to also do it in the same firm. Only he wants to do it. So same PAN of the last year, same PAN in the current year. So what will happen for the marginal service here? My notes should be, students, the same notes which I gave you as point number 3 in the previous question. What is that I'm going to write here? In the eligibility, marginal service. In that condition, I'll put marginal service. This is the limit. And in the remark side, students, what I'm going to write? Is it a new firm? No. Straight away, what is the turnover of the last year? Which is 125 lakhs. And then 10% of 125 lakhs, 12.5. Which would be compared with 5 lakh, whichever is higher. Answer is 12.5. Is that clear to all of you, students? That's exactly what it is. This is how it will become in this context. So students, but still, now you know the answer. You are feeling very happy about it. But let's now get into the painful exercise of repeating it so that it becomes standardized. I'm telling you, students, it should become standardized and it should come very naturally to you. So how you write it, students? Now you'll say, so, but this is A, B, C, and D. If it comes in the examination, then what? Same thing. Don't worry. Herein, it doesn't. It will not take time. Once the standardization happen, you will yourself will be writing very fast. Technology enterprise. What do you write, students? Is he a registered person or a new firm? Is he a registered person or new firm? It is now whenever you are talking about this, it is a registered person. So if he is a registered person, already make the reference of this. If it is a registered person, already make the reference of it. If it is a new firm, students, so write new firm. Don't write URP, students. Write new firm. If it is a new firm, in this case, it is not a new firm, no? Because in the tomorrow when I do one question of Mr. Varun, this is a new firm which started off. So whenever a new firm starts off in the current financial year, so don't write URP. Why? Because in the current year itself, he will take a registration. Once his turnover will cross that 20 lakhs limit, he will take the registration as a composite dealer. As a composite dealer. So therefore, then you write new firm. But if he is already registered, so write registered person. What is his business in the current year, friends? In the current year, business in the current financial year. So emphasis is only of the business in the CFI. Be very careful. Because why I'm telling you, in the same question, one beautiful question is there, friends. Why I'm telling you, same question number 5, you will find why I'm emphasizing that what you have to write in the statement in the current financial year. So in the current financial year, he wants to do manufacture of computer system plus what? Plus repairing. Plus repairing. This is what he wants to do. Manufacture of the computer system plus repairing. Now, what is the eligibility condition where he will fall? Eligibility condition where we are going to test. The eligibility condition 10(1) and 10(2) of CGST Act. You all agree? Now, what is that we have to write? Eligibility conditions. This would be less, and the last maximum width would be to the remark. These are the presentation that you will do in the examination. I'm not taking you right now to understand the solution. No, this is what you're going to write in the solution. So, and in this particular context, so first eligibility condition in this context, linked to previous financial year 21-22. How much is that? Manufacturer. So aggregate turnover up to rupees 150 lakhs. Now I told you already, please make a reference. This 150 lakhs, this is scheme number 1. Scheme number 1, there are 3 persons. In that first eligibility itself, define who that person is for manufacture of the goods. But don't write in the second one again and again. Don't do the repetitions. In the remark, friends, the aggregate turnover up to the financial year 21-22 is rupees 125 lakhs, and hence the eligibility condition, and hence the eligibility condition of the scheme or under section 10(1) and 10(2) is satisfied. Hence, Techno Enterprises is eligible for what? Composition scheme under section 10(1) and 10(2) for financial year 22-20. 2 sentences only in the remark for this, only 2 sentences. One is that he is within the limit, and second sentence is therefore he is eligible for the composition scheme under 10(1) and 10(2) for the next financial year. Define what is that financial. Okay. Now, the point is that here is a marginal service. Is Techno Enterprise only wants to do the marginal service, or is Sun wants to do in the same firm? Techno only would have to do it. If Techno only have to do it, students, if Techno only have to do it, students, so this is a marginal service. In eligibility, students, here only you have to write marginal service. In the eligibility, here you have to write only the marginal service, students. Isn't it? That is it. You don't have to write story over here. And please write the limit. What is the limit? 10% of turnover of the state of PFI. What is that PFI? 21-22. Or rupees 5 lakhs. Whichever is now where this is written. Didn't I told you the provision also, students? Which provision? I told you for marginal service, keep writing like this. Second proviso to section 10. Second proviso. Fine. Please come to the remark side. Now, please write over here. See the remark how I am writing. The composition scheme. This is an important remark. The composition scheme under section 10.1 and 10.2 is essentially for goods and only one service. Only one service. Namely, which service? Restaurant service. Full stop. Next slide. However, the scheme permits supply of marginal service for specified value along with what? Supply of goods and restaurant service. This you will read 3 times. This is standard statement. Read 3 times, students. After that, sometime revise 3 times. So this is standard statement. Whenever you have to introduce marginal service in this context, this is how you're going to introduce. Okay. In the question, wherever the marginal service, in the current question, there was a story, and that story has focus shifted on what? Because of that story, the focus shifted on sole proprietorship to partnership, new GST, new PAN, new firm. Therefore, the turnover of the last year is 0, hence 5 lakhs. That was where the entire focus was. But generally, that is an exception. Generally, this is what the statement would be, that marginal service the same firm wants to provide. If the same firm wants to provide marginal service, this is a standard statement, students. You will keep repeating this. So remember this, and you'll remember it, because 2-3 questions more, you will get bored writing again and again the same thing. So this is a standardized statement for marginal service. Is that clear to all of you? Now, what you have to do in the present case, just apply the limit. Apply the limit. Already we have calculated the limit. In the present case, Techno Enterprise can provide repair service of the value. How much is the value? Of the value up to rupees 12.5 lakhs. being 10% of 125 lakhs in the bracket. Now don't keep repeating last turnover over here. That already you have written over here. PFI you have already defined it over here. Because you already put your energy in this explanation in the first two paragraphs, don't keep repeating the same thing over here. Don't do that. So here what you're going to write in the present case. So in the marginal service, this standard statement already has been written in the remark column. Directly apply the provision which you have written in the condition. Apply the provision 10% of 125 lakhs, which is 12.5 lakhs. And in the bracket you'll write what? Which is higher than? Which is higher than what? Higher than 5 lakhs. So here you don't write 12.5 or rupees 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. Don't write this. Straight away answer. 10% of 125 lakhs, which is equal to 12.5 lakhs. And in the bracket, you can write which is higher than 5 lakhs. That is it. Is that clear to all of you, students? Every one of you. Can I proceed now further, students, through the next part? Part B, question B. All they are independent part. I want this to go to an extent where it becomes so standardized and mechanical that you are writing it all on your own. Perfect, students. So now with that, question number B, the B part of the question. Messrs. Siddharth and Son, registered in Delhi. Messrs. Siddharth and Son, registered in Delhi, owns a restaurant. Got it? Tasty Foods. With a turnover of 112 lakhs in the previous financial year. In view of growing customer demand, it also starts intrastate trading in juices. Beautiful question. Restaurant with trading. Is he still in scheme number 1 or he has gone to scheme number 2? Restaurant service, and now in the current financial year plus trading in goods. In the current financial year plus trading in goods. Is he still in 10.1 and 10.2 or he has gone to 10.2A? Is he still in 10.1 and 10.2 or he has gone to 10.2A? He is still in 10.1 and 10.2, students. You will all appreciate on this particular part. You will all appreciate in this particular part. It is still in 10.1 and 10.2, students. Isn't it? That's exactly the point. And now, but the things you have to be very careful, students. Over here, good that they are not asking you a practical in this. They have not asked you a practical question in this. Had it been practical, it would be really a beautiful part. I will just ensure that if a practical comes, you know how to apply. In this case study, the practical was not there. But if the practical would have been there, then you at least should know. So I will write it in the remark column, which you may skip when this kind of question comes. But I'm just giving you the remark column for your consumption, that if this kind of a question is translated in computer tax liability, this is only about testing in the eligibility part. But if the same question they will ask you computer tax liability by giving you the current year turnover of restaurant service, of that trading in that juices, in that case, if you have to calculate tax liability, then I will give you a reference something in the remark column, which you will use it in the calculation of tax liability. Right now, that is not a need. But yes, you should know about it. Otherwise, in this case, you will go and make an error out of it, which you have to avoid in anyhow. Point number B, students. So what is this person? This is Siddharth and Son. Is he a new person or old person? Old person, registered person, I will say. What is his business in the current financial year? What is his business in the current financial year? Don't write the last year business only, because last year he was only restaurant. Last year, students, he was only restaurant. Current year he is what? Restaurant service plus, always write like this, plus what? Trading in goods, trading of juice, Okay, where will it be his eligibility? 10-1, 10-2 or 10-2A? The eligibility conditions, students, in this case, eligibility condition would be in 10-1 and 10-2. DGST Act. This is where will be his eligibility condition. All of you agree to this one, students? Now, the three statement. Eligibility, conditions, and remark. And remark. Okay. Point number one, students. Point number one. So, again, all mechanical, na? Linked to previous financial year. Linked to previous financial year, students, of 21-22. Of 21-22, students. In this regard. Now, over here, if you see, in this context, aggregate turnover up to rupees 150 lakhs. Now, this is for restaurant service. Last rate was restaurant service only. Okay. Current year, they have not told you. What they are only telling you in the current financial year, students. If you see over here, you'll say, sir, in this kind of a question, should we write about the current turnover? See, please understand in Rajbir and Son, the first question, they gave you what, students? They gave you about what? They gave you the expected turnover of the next year. Expected turnover of the next year. Please be careful. Here, the emphasis is not on that. This question has got one uniqueness. What is the uniqueness? Please compare Rajbir with this. And you would note that one thing I'm not doing in this question. Did you realize that what is that one thing which I'm not doing in this question? In the Rajbir, which was a previous case study, and this case study, one thing I'm not doing it. What is that? That one thing, students, which I'm not doing it, is about the current year eligibility conditions. I'm not testing it. Did you realize that? The current year, students, the eligibility condition, I'm not testing it. Why? Not required. Because they are not giving me current year turnover. And the fact that they are not giving me current year turnover, why should I check the current year eligibility? Whether he has crossed that 150 lakhs or not? I'm not interested to know. If they don't give me that turnover, Rajbir has given me that. This is not giving me. This question is only talking about that based on the last year turnover plus what he wants to do extra in the next year, is he eligible for the composition scheme or not? Is he eligible for the composition scheme or not? That is what they are trying to talk about. And if he is eligible, then where he is eligible. So identify why I am not trying to put up, why I am not trying to put up the second part, because that is not used. Because what I will do about the second condition, if you say, sir, link it with the current financial year also of 20, but I should know, na, if I write, okay, here also I write the same thing, 150 lakhs. In the remark column, I should know in the current year how much turnover you have achieved. So as to test that, okay, you up till here, you have there, now be careful, only 20 lakhs is left. Or you have already reached, so you will pay the taxes per normal rate. I don't know about it, so therefore I will not write about it. Is that clear to all of you? So therefore the bottom line is this. If they will give you, students, in the question about the current year turnover, how much they have reached or crossed, then and only then the second point of the current year turnover will have to be referred. That is therefore one standardization which I am telling you at very outset. Is that clear to all of you, students? Any confusion on this? Now this question is not about the marginal service also. So marginal service, I'm not going to write anything about it in this context. So now just putting up the remark, the aggregate turnover in the previous financial year, 21-22, is rupees. How much is that? 1 or 2 lakhs. And hence, eligibility condition. of the scheme under section 10(1) and 10(2) is satisfied. That is, he is eligible for composition scheme. He is eligible for composition scheme in financial year 22-23. Now you will write in the next paragraph, in the current financial year 22-23, the supplier wants to engage in trading of goods, which is also eligible supply. Underline the word eligible supply under composition scheme of 10(1) and 10(2). Under the composition scheme of 10(1) and 10. Okay. Now this is for your practical part. This is not required in this question. But if at all practical comes, be careful. Now you know supply. Which supply? Here in restaurant service. Now what is the composition tax that you will calculate? If at all they give you the data, they have not given you data. Then the composition tax runs, 5% of the turnover of the state. When you have to calculate a tax, then it is turnover of the state in the current financial year. Turnover of the state in the current financial year. And what is the turnover that you are going to take, students? For restaurant service, for manufacturing and for restaurant service, what is the turnover? Taxable supply plus exempt supply. And in exempt supply, one thing will not be considered. Which is that thing which will not be considered? Interest. The interest part. The next one, students, is about the trading of goods. Supply which is in the form of trading of goods. How much is the composition tax? 1% of the turnover of the state of the current year. Current financial year. And tell me, what is the turnover that you're going to take? The taxable. Is that point clear to all of you? This would be a really, if the ICI just have to give the data, and that is it, I'm telling you, 10,000 silly mistake that can be there in this. Are you clear with this one or not? Can you distinguish in Rajbir case why in the eligibility part, in point number 2, I have given you the turnover of the eligibility linked with the current financial year also? Why I have given you in Rajbir question and why I'm not writing it over here? All of you are aware, clear now on this case. So if they give you the current year turnover also, then that point number 2 of the current year has to be mentioned, which is not given at all in this entire question number 5. So I'm not supposed to write anything. Just point number 1 and point number 2 on marginal service if required. Point number 2 on marginal service if required. The way it was there in the point A of that technology enterprise. Question 5A. There I have to write and I have written. And marginal service, because threshold is there. In that condition, the second column, condition, the threshold has to be written. So therefore, marginal service, write the threshold and the remark. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Every one of you. So with that, students, just take the C part, students, in this context. The C part, students. Sitaram registered in Sikkim. Be careful. This is a beautiful question, students. Beautiful question. One of the beauty is point number C. And now you can distinguish everything one by one. When you read casually, you can never distinguish. Now you can distinguish everything. So Sitaram Associate, registered in Sikkim, is engaged in running a restaurant chain, Veg Kitchen, in the state. So what they are engaged in? Restaurant service. It has a turnover of 73 lakhs in the financial year 21-22. Okay. Yes, Tulsi. In the financial year 22-23, it decides to shut down the food chain owing to huge losses being incurred in the said business. Instead, it will start providing intrastate architect service from financial year 22-23. Beautiful question. You all realize that the beauty of this question. So now come back to our statement. We have to write the answer based on whatever you've learned, the standardization students, whatever we have learned in the today's class, the standardization. Please come to that. Point number D. point number C, students. In this context, now see how that 75 lakhs will become irrelevant now. Sitaram Associate. Is Sitaram Associate a registered person? Yes, it is a registered person. Now, what is a business in the current financial year? Is it the same person who is doing the business? Because in the current year, his business is different. The last year, the business was different. But is the same person with the same GST number? Is it the same person who is doing the business? Answer is yes. Unlike in the case of what? Rajbir and Son. When Karan joined, then it is not the same person anymore. So in this case, RP herein, he is the registered person, yes. Business in the current financial year. So now tell me whether you're going to write restaurant in that statement or you're going to write architect service. What is that you're going to write? In this architect service, students, in this statement, you will write architect service. I told you already, don't write what has happened in the past, write what he is going to do it now. Eligibility conditions, students. Eligibility conditions. Now, what is that eligibility condition, students, in this case? Where the eligibility will fall? 10-1 and 10-2, students. Restaurant service. 10-1 and 10-2. Restaurant service. Whether in that section we are going to check out the eligibility condition. Answer is no. We are going to check out the eligibility condition in 10-2A of CGST Act. 10-2A of the CGST Act. This is where the eligibility would be tested now. Now, did they give anything about the current year turnover? No. So only one eligibility only would be tested. Only one eligibility would be tested. So eligibility, conditions, and the remark. Point number 1. Link to previous financial year. Eligibility linked to previous financial year 21-22. How much is that in 10-2A, students? Aggregate turnover. Up to what? Up to rupees 50 lakhs. Okay, in this context, up to rupees 50 lakhs. That is what it is. The threshold limit. Now, in this case, be careful. In this regard, the first remark that you're going to write, the composition scheme under section 10-2A is available. Please write a condition in the current financial year if two conditions are satisfied. Students, be careful. This is the standard answer. So whenever 10-2A, students, be careful. Remark for 10-2A, standardized answer. Standardized answer, students. Every time, whenever you have to write about 10-2A, this is what needs to be there. The composition scheme under section 10-2A is available in current financial year if two conditions are satisfied. If two conditions are satisfied, which are those two conditions? Are you aware of the two conditions? Oh, you are only aware of one condition, aggregate turnover. No, there is one more condition, students. And what is that condition? The registered person is not eligible. Always write this. Always write this. Is not eligible to pay the tax. To pay tax under section 10-1 and 10-2. You can write like this, students. By the way, in the examination, Like the way I'm writing that two bifurcation, you can write like this. No need to put across in the statement form. Or you can write 1, 2 like that, whatever you are comfortable with. And second one is that aggregate turnover in the previous financial year is how much? Is grade up to rupees 50 lakhs. Up to rupees 50 lakhs. Now this is irrespective, because students, just you can write, if possible, you can write here irrespective of territories in India. Territories in India. Why I'm emphasizing in this question this part? Because he's from Sikkim actually. Because he's from Sikkim. He's from Sikkim, isn't it? Now, in this next point, what I'm going to do, I have to first establish, students, is 10.1.10.2 applicable to him? First establish, is 10.1.10.2 applicable to him? No. Why is it not applicable? Because 10.1 and 10.2 is applicable for supplier of goods and restaurant service. 10.1 and 10.2 is applicable only to supplier of goods and restaurant service. Supplier of goods and restaurant service. Therefore, the eligibility in the present case will have to be tested in 10.2a. In 10.2a. The next part, friends, in this case. Now, what is his aggregate turnover in the previous financial year? Please be careful. In the previous financial year, students, he was doing restaurant service. In the previous financial year, he was doing the restaurant service. First complete up till here. I just want a pause from all of you to discuss this very important point. A pause from all of you to discuss this very important point. So, students, what he was doing in the previous financial year? Restaurant service. So, in the previous financial year, students, was his now, since I have to test in the current financial year the eligibility condition of PFI, will I go with that 150 lakhs limit? Will I go with that 150 lakhs limit? Or will I have to go with that 50 lakhs limit? Which limit? So now the fact that I have to check in the current financial year that whether he is eligible or not. So for that, in the last particular year, because he was doing a restaurant service, should I check that 150 lakhs limit? Was he within that 150 lakhs? Sorry. In Sikkim, it is 75 lakhs. In Sikkim, it is 75 lakhs. Should I check that 75 lakhs limit? Or should I go with 50 lakhs? I hope that you have understood my question. I hope you have understood my question. So because in the last year he was doing restaurant service in Sikkim, so when I have to check in the current financial year, is he eligible for composition scheme or not? So should I now check what? Check that restaurant service last year in Sikkim 75 lakhs, or it would be 50 lakhs. So students, the answer is 50 lakhs. That exactly is the game. That's the reason why they didn't write it in the current year. What you are doing, students, that is the game. And where you are checking the condition, you are checking the condition in 10.2a. So if the eligibility condition is tested in 10.2a based on the current year activity, if the eligibility condition is tested based on the current year activity, then this eligibility has to be tested for both last year as well as for the current year. And that too under 10.2a now. And therefore, what was his aggregate turnover in the last year? 73 lakhs. How much is required in 10-2A for the last year to be eligible for the scheme in the current financial year? 50 lakhs. So did he cross that 50 lakhs threshold of 10-2A? Yes. Therefore, is he eligible for the composition scheme of 10-2A in the current year? No. That exactly is the game, students. That's the beauty of this question. See how subtle these questions are. And you will never be in a position to pick up from the solution which the ICI is giving, be it in the semester or wherever it is. I hope that all of you are clear with this one now. Every one of you. In this context. Why turnover is zero? Turnover, he's the same person, na? How come the turnover will become zero? He's the same person. Person is the same. Turnover will become zero in two cases. When you are starting a new business in the current year, you are starting what? You are a new person altogether. You are not a registered person. And for the very first time, this person is doing something altogether for the very first time in life. Or the Rajbir case. What is that Rajbir case? The Rajbir case was when last year you were in a different form, sole proprietor, and the current year you are a partnership form. So, did the partnership form existed in the last year? No. So, therefore, turnover was zero. That's only two cases. So, for the purpose of here, he has done the turnover. This person with the same PAN, this person with the same PAN number, this person with the same PAN number, did he did the turnover in the last year? Yes. How much was the turnover in the last year? 73 lakhs. For the purpose of 10-2A, what should be the turnover for creating the eligibility? 50 lakhs. And therefore, he is not eligible in this context. So, for the purpose of section 10-2A, Rabi, the eligibility linked to previous financial year is aggregate turnover up to rupees 50 lakhs. I'm giving you in the bracket irrespective of the nature of supply. Irrespective of the nature of supply in the PFI. Full stop. Because you are testing where? In 10-2A you are testing. Since the aggregate turnover in financial year 21-22 was rupees 73 lakhs. Therefore, the eligibility condition is not satisfied. The eligibility condition is not satisfied. And therefore, what is the conclusion? Hence, Sitaram, associate, is not eligible for composition scheme for financial year 22-23. For financial year 22-23. Is that clear to all of you? For financial year 22-23. So neither he is eligible under 10-1, 10-2, nor he is eligible in 10-2A. Neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Perfect. This part, students, I have discussed with all of you in the class, in the conceptual class. This part. Dipti Service Limited, registered in Uttarakhand, is exclusively providing intrastate hairstyling service. Hairstyling service. So therefore, where it is, hairstyling, where it will go? 10 to A. It has turnover of 34 lakhs in the financial year 21-22. Will your answer be different if Dipti Services Limited also start intrastate supply of beauty products along with providing hairstyling service in the financial year 22-23? Beauty product along with putting across this one. Now, I gave you this example, if you remember, in the class itself. What was that example which I gave it to you, students? Remember that? The class itself, I gave you this example, that is saloon, hair saloon which is there, and then they are providing also some of the goods. Supply of the goods is also happening in the process. So where it will go, students? It will go under 10 to A, or hair service in 10 to A, and that goods would go under 10-1, 10-2. Either you are in 10-1 and either you are in that scheme 1 in totality, or you are in scheme 2 in totality. You cannot be in both. You can never be half here and half there. And I therefore told you, students, in this case, in the last lecture also, that this would go completely in 10 to A. I also gave you another example of coaching classes, wherein our, if we have to go, where we will go in 10 to A in composition scheme. But at the same time, students are also are ordering our textbooks also. So there the lectures are not taken, only the textbooks are being purchased. So if the textbooks are being purchased, then for textbook we will go in 10-1. The scheme number 1. No, it is still which scheme, students? It is still scheme number 2. So that, and now, is there any limit for the trading of goods? For 10 to A, there is no limit primarily. Both for the service of 10 to A and the supply of the goods that may have taken place, for both, combined limit of 50 lakhs only will apply. Combined limit of 50 lakhs only will apply. Is that clear to all of you? I want you to draft this question now. I'm giving you this question as a homework now. This part. I'm giving this question to all of you as a homework. You will draft this question now straight away. And I will also, now I'm not going to discuss this question. Enough of discussion of this question has happened. I'm also going to shoot this solution format in your Telegram channel. Those students who have not yet in the Telegram channel at this point of time, please be in that. All these inputs and these homeworks and all, any solution that has to begin, I'll put it there in your respective folder of the topic. So I'll put it that, and there you can compare your solution with any refinement further required. But the format will be the same, students. Format will be the same. The format in which I have taken you through up till now. Same format, you will now create this homework, students. Create it and get it started in this context. Fine, students? So those who are not in the Telegram group, students, in the description box of this video, you will find that 2 numbers. First number is my number. You can just message in the WhatsApp. And I'll just put you in the Telegram channel, wherein the link of all the lectures are there, as well as the notes as well, in the respective folder. So students, get started with it. Finish it off right now. Don't sleep and put it, sir, I'll do tomorrow. Don't do that, students. But tomorrow it will not take much of time. We'll finish off the composition scheme at one go. Because today was important because the format needs to be set. So today was more on the formatting side, which I have done it with all of you. Tomorrow, students, any case, we'll jump to the questions quickly, finish it off, and only one new things will come to you tomorrow. You already are aware. Right now, today, questions are majorly for what? Whether I am eligible in the next year or not. Only that. In tomorrow's question, the computation of tax liability will also come under the composition. So there are 2 tables that you're going to prepare. One table, whatever you have prepared up till now. Second table would be the table which I'm going to share with you. Just part, students, parting thing, 10 to A, just the standardized statement. Please remember the standardized statement. Marginal service, what has to be written? Standardization, I've already given you provisos and all those things in the remark column. 10 to A, what is there in the remark column? 10 to a, what is in the remark column? That is a standardized statement. Now, these are all standardized statements. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Can he still continue? Can he still continue? Then the current year turnover was given. Because current year turnover was given, so therefore I was testing the current year turnover also in the eligibility part. And I said that yes, he can still continue because he has not breached that 150 lakhs. And more importantly, if he wants to still continue, ensure that he doesn't do any one of the prohibited supply, which the list I have already given you in that Rajbir and Sons question. Is that clear to all of you? These are the standardization which I have made for all of you. Tomorrow I'm going to finish it off. This particular topic on the composition. We'll move on quickly now into the next thing. Okay, students, share with all the students. I keep repeating to all of you, all your friends and all. It should reach to all the students so that in the next particular examination and the results day when it comes out, even their family and their parents should also, it should bring smile to them. I will feel redeemed with this effort which I'm putting it. I'm just telling you, students, all these things, why I'm taking this. Do you remember this 10 minutes I extended today? Because I was also writing the formatting. It doesn't comes to my mind straight away. I have to also write all these formats so that it becomes structured. Otherwise, in the thoughts, if I have to keep preparing, so all these notebooks are being prepared for you guys only, so that the solution gets structured in this case, so that in this particular class lectures there is no R&D that is taking place. So the efforts needs to get redeemed, students, and I will feel redemption on this kind of this thing if it brings smile to many of the people around it, as many as people around it. That would be a full redemption to this effort primarily. And that exactly is the point. So see you then, students, tomorrow night, 9:15. Okay, take care. Bye bye. Good night. Do it now. I'll see you tomorrow.